Hello and welcome to Who Are You Calling a Professional, hosted by Snack Time Media. I'm your host, Katie, and I can't wait to dive in with y'all today.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome.
Hi, Katie. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to kick off by giving you time for a brief introduction. So name, your role or job title, and what industry you work in. And you can say the company or you don't have to say the company you work for.
My name is Sarah. I don't know how prepared I'm going to be for these questions, but I am a graphic designer and art director at a coin auction firm.
So how did you first hear about this company or how did you find this job originally?
I have a friend whose dad actually works here and was looking for a graphic designer, and I was fresh out of college, needed a job, and so I was like, what the heck, why not? I didn't know if it was going to be temporary or permanent work, and it ended up being permanent.
So is this your first job right out of college?
Yes, first job.
Were you looking at specifically only graphic design jobs or what did the job search originally look like?
Specifically coins. I'm just kidding. No, I do graphic design, so I was expecting to go somewhere more along the lines of an advertising agency, but I've always heard about working as an in-house designer, and I expected to do an ad agency first and then move more into in-house, but this job came up sooner and I love it and I wouldn't switch to agency now.
So why do you say that now of not wanting to be in the agency and sticking with the in-house designer?
I did do an internship in a creative agency, which was awesome, and I really enjoyed my time there. But it's very fast paced. A lot of the workers, but in my time as an intern, moved. I don't know if it was just that company, but they had a lot of turnover, a lot of people leaving, a lot of new people coming in, and I didn't like the sense of community around it. My in-house job usually is a little smaller, so my company is 6 people, which is awesome that I get to feels more of a community, like family. Right, I'm not worried about getting kicked to the curb if I make a mistake or something.
That sounds much better. I think you have a good thing going on.
I do.
So in this role, I feel like a lot of people don't know what it means to be an art designer or graphic designer. What does this day look like? So let's say today or yesterday, walk me through what a day looks like in your role.
See, this is hard for me because with what I do is being very niche with the coins, which I will get into at some point, but I have different seasons of what I'm working on because we are an auction house. I have a season of photography where I'm taking pictures of coins and getting everything ready. I have a season of cataloging, putting together a catalog for our auction, and then creating ads and stuff. And then after the auction, once I'm done with all the work, I help out more with shipping and packaging. So I kind of do day to day a lot of different things, but I'll go into today. It's lunch. I'm on my lunch hour right now, but I came into work and I'm working on 2 fold up posters, like big posters that we'll have out at, we're having actually a coin show before our auction this year. So I'm making a couple posters and advertising for that, and then working on some emails to send out to all of our people to remind them to sign up for the auction.
Nice. Have you done anything in this role that you find to be particularly rewarding?
I like the aspect of doing an auction because it is like all of our work is going towards one thing. And so I get to work for, I don't know, 5 months out of the year towards this couple of days where all of our work sort of gets paid off, where we see good numbers on coins or just different things that people appreciate. So it's good to actually have a day where you can see your work paying off.
Is that really stressful at the auctions or is that kind of fun for you? What is the vibe there?
Well, the auctions are usually the best part 'cause I can take a breath. Our auction is actually next week. So we just hit the point where probably last Friday, we finished all the stuff pretty much getting ready for it. And now we can take a breath, chill. And then when the auction comes, it is a busy day, a lot of people managing, but not as much graphic design stress and just more talking and hanging out with other people, making sure everyone has everything they need.
The first time you went to one of these, was it intimidating because you were new or how did you get into that persona?
The whole coin thing is very still new to me. It's definitely interesting, and I don't always know what I'm doing or talking about when it comes to coins. It's definitely intimidating. The first time I walked in to meet my now boss was at a coin show at the convention center, and there was more people than you could ever imagine that knew more than you could ever imagine about coins. So it was just interesting to get to see all these people that I didn't know existed cared so much about stuff that I don't know anything about. So it definitely is intimidating in aspects, and also being being a woman in this job field where there's not very many women, or the market is older men. So it's just interesting being a young woman in this same field.
So what did you do to prepare as you were going into these environments where you might be the youngest or the only woman? Or how did you study anything or psych yourself up for anything?
Just baptism by fire, I would say. Getting in there and talking to people. I still feel like definitely, obviously, like one of my friend's dads is my boss, so I'm definitely people's kids' age. And so it's interesting to see how I don't do too much preparing, but just in being confident and talking to other people and just knowing that I know what I know and I don't need to be worried about other people think. Some people think I get mistaken as my boss's daughter a decent amount.
So with seeing you start this role into now, I have not always known exactly what you do. Do you feel like there's a common misconception about what you do versus what you actually do? Or does it people pretty right, like you work with coins?
Yeah, no one I don't think anyone knows really to the extent of what I do. Some people think I do nothing. Some people I do just like play with coins all day. The biggest misconception is that everyone's like, "Oh, I have a penny. Can you sell my penny? Does it worth?" I'm like, "No, your penny isn't worth anything." And we specialize in colonial Latin American coins as well as shipwreck coins and artifacts, which I think is the most interesting version of coins, as interesting as they can be.
People just think that every coin, you know about every coin, I guess. And
Yeah, people think that I know about their American coins, and they think that I'm staring at nickels all day, which I'm not doing. Also, I do photography, a lot of pictures of coins. I know a lot more than anyone should ever know about coins for sure, but I still don't know half of anything else. But it is interesting. I think that I like that it's shipwreck coins, which have a lot of history to it, and coins from the 1500s or even 100 BC, which is super cool.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel like you just specialize more, you're saying, in the art and the design part of it than the actual coin
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Has there been anything that's been super surprising since you started this role?
When I came in and was like, I will do everything I can to not learn about coins because I don't find it as interesting. But I do enjoy learning and getting that history aspect, which it's different than probably every other graphic design job because I get to learn about other things that I wouldn't typically. But
That makes sense. So I'm looking at you now and you look like you're in an office. Do you work exclusively from an office or are there remote opportunities or what does that look like when finding a job?
for my specific field, graphic design is typically something that is like you can work anywhere, obviously, as long as you have a computer. Usually, like you'd like a desktop, but with the coins, there's a world in which I could work from home when I'm doing advertising and doing emails and stuff. But for my photography, well, actually, I can show you my setup. The pod can't see it, but there's my little camera over there, and I have
Oh,
all my
whoa.
stuff that and my lights and stuff I take my pictures with. So that is obviously have to do in person, and then taking the coins. I can't take a $50,000 coin, just have it chill at my house.
Does it ever stress you out by dealing with coins that are worth so much?
Probably should more than it does. Some people are like,
It's good.
don't tell anyone. Some people are like touching them with very carefully. But I mean, these coins came from the bottom of the ocean after 500 years. I don't know how, that's probably too many years. But for many years, they're all sitting. So my fingers aren't going to break them.
The funny thing I learned from talking to you is how people clean the coins and they shouldn't. Isn't there something with coins that you shouldn't clean them if you find them like that?
Yeah, there are professionals that can, especially from shipwrecks when they're covered in coral. Professionals can get it to where it needs to be, but a lot of times when you have a coin, people are scratching at it, and those scratches, if you try to get them graded from NGC, like a grader, they'll put it as clean and it's worth a lot less because it shows it's not just naturally how the coin was. But there are little ways here and there for obviously not me, but for professionals to clean them up a little and make them look a little bit nicer. But yeah, if you find a really rare coin, don't scrub it.
That's so interesting. I was shocked when you taught me that. So kind of getting maybe away from coins a little bit more into your balance. Do you feel like you have a good work-life balance? What does it look like time spent between the job and your regular life?
My work-life balance is probably the best for part of this job and the most raw. I work typically 10:30 to 4, which is really, really good. And I get to do all the things I want to do in the morning. I went to hot Pilates this morning, went and did a bunch of stuff, saw my mom, and then after work I coach lacrosse, and so it's nice that I get to do things outside of work, and I don't really take work home with me. I do it and then I get home. I mean, I'll have a couple emails here and there I need to answer, but in the most part, no. But if we get busy, it is nice because they do give me so much free time so that when we get busy, I can spend more time in the office. During our past couple weeks, I'd be working from 9 to 6,
Yeah.
working more hours, which it definitely evens out in my favor. Or we'll go to coin shows that are across the country, and I'll have to go for a Wednesday to Saturday. So, I mean, that's more time, but it's not necessarily working. It's more just talking to people and showing coins.
Still work. How many coin shows are you averaging a year, quarter? I feel like I have no idea.
We usually go to, off the top of my head, probably 8 a year. And
Are you at
then
all of them?
I've been to most of them, but they're actually at a show right now, and they're just like, we don't need the extra person to carry all this stuff, and just it would just be too crowded at this place. So they're like, you don't have to come. Because I enjoy going. It's fun to go on a trip and go to a cool place, but it's also just kind of annoying and not, like I said, there's a lot of older men, and I'm a younger woman, so it's not fully my people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sounds like, I mean, that's what I feel like whenever we chat, you always say the best part about it is the work-life balance. And obviously the work is interesting in
Yeah,
your field too, but that's a huge bonus.
for sure. Yes.
So if someone is looking to do a role like this, who makes a good candidate? What kind of person is like, oh, they'd really excel in this industry?
Someone who likes graphic design and someone who likes history would be the best candidate. I think that I would be better at my job if I knew more about coins, and so that's one thing. But I mean, it's a very, very niche job, so I think it would be hard. I think if someone just happened to like both, it'd be like, oh, this is the perfect way to combine my two loves. But I think it's not a common job doing. I mean, graphic design's it's pretty common, but like coin people, and then both of them together is pretty niche. So I think that I wouldn't advise anyone to go directly for just this job. I don't know how many other jobs there are that are quite like mine. I don't know.
But other in-house graphic designers, as a graphic designer, is there a role, is it attract people who are really creative or like to follow the rules or make up their own rules? Is there anything that would kind of apply
Yeah,
to make
for
someone a good
sure, for sure. I think in-house, the reason why I like it more than agency, other than the other things I mentioned before, is that, especially with a smaller company too, in-house, I get to make a lot more design decisions than I would at an agency, and also there's a good branding system so that I know when I'm making an ad, I know what logos I'm going to use, I know what fonts I'm going to use, I know all this stuff that I'm going to just work into a different way. Whereas at an agency, you're working for many different companies. I personally think that when you're younger, you should work at an agency, and that it's really good. You get to exhaust all your creative juices by doing different things, doing a lot, making your brain really work for it. I think that in-house is better for me. It's a little more chill. I get to do my thing. I know what the vibe of what I'm going to be making. I think it's less burnout. I know a lot of people in the graphic design field experience burnout of just kind of like writer's block, but just with creativity, that it's like I can't think creatively anymore. And I still get that sometimes working in-house where I'm like, I can't think of another layout. I just literally can't. But I definitely think agency helps you build up things, tools put in your back pocket. And then I do love an in-house place that I can sort of chill and do my thing and make a lot more of my own choices, but still not get too creatively exhausted.
So I feel like that definitely makes sense. And that's what I've seen you in this role. But as you look forward, do you have a career progression you're looking for? Or how does this job look like in the future?
Should I be honest or should I
Yeah.
lie?
Be honest.
Okay. Well, I think that this is a good job also that I found when I am ready to be a mother and when I'm ready to settle down. Obviously, that's not too soon, but I think that this is a good job that I'd be able to take my kids to school, come to work. If I needed to be like, hey, I have to go, my kid's sick, they'd be like, awesome, you can go. And so I don't think it is good as women to find a job that just to be a mother. But I do think I'm passionate about wanting to be a mother at some point, and this feels like a really good. I'm liking what I'm doing right now. I think that progression could, in my place, look like getting more into the company of doing more coins, which could be interesting. But also just knowing that the schedule is so perfect for when I do want to tone down my working a little more. And if it came to a time where I was like, I'd have to work half days or I'd have to do whatever, I'm sure that they could be flexible with me as well.
And I think that is important to call out. And I don't think you're diminishing yourself at all by having another interest and wanting to be a
Yeah.
mother. I think that's good. A lot of people look for jobs that they can be a mother in and or be a father or anything. So
Well, as I was actually for the pod to know, I was a sociology major, and we talked a lot about how women go into roles that are more specific, so that even when they're not a mother yet, but because it's always the mom that has to leave work to pick up the kid, it's always the mom. So they end up taking lesser roles while the men get to be CEOs and whatever.
I like that tangent. That was excellent.
Thank you.
So with the same lens of progression, in terms of pay, since you started at this role, are there any pay bumps? Have you received a dramatic increase in pay since you started, or has it been pretty flat?
So I've worked here for under 2 years, so not too much pay movement, but I've had after my first year, I got a raise of, Katie, you might know better than me, but I think $5,000.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I think so. She did my taxes, so I'm pretty sure that's how much it was, which I think is a pretty good raise. I think the biggest thing is like with my hours, the money that I'm making is good and hopefully keeps progressing.
And to give more background, I know you're in Florida, so Florida doesn't have income tax, so it's a little different on pay. But if you're comfortable, would you give us a range of what you're making? It could be like a $20,000 range of what people could expect in a specific role like this.
Yeah, I would say 45 to 65.
Yeah, nice. And that's starting, and then or is that at 2 years?
Maybe a little bit lower starting, but not too bad. I don't know. I think with a graphic design, it is different places will pay. And I know there's a shortage of a lot more graphic designers than there are jobs. And I noticed that in my time looking for jobs. So I do think graphic designers are sometimes underpaid just because of the market, and that if there's too many, someone will take work just because they need it that's cheaper than they should be paid.
So I feel like off that, I have to ask, how is AI, or have you noticed trends with
Ay,
AI?
caramba. I think that it's just up in the air. It could take my job forever. I think right now it doesn't have the ability to be human-like, and it could be because I'm a graphic designer or just a person who likes real things. If I see an AI ad or if I see something that's clearly AI, I don't trust it. And I won't go to a restaurant if they have an AI ad, because I'm like, if you're not trusting putting time and effort into even like your company's branding, what are you putting into the food? What are you putting into other things? So I think that it's definitely going to get better, but there are tools that help. I use AI tools in ways without making, I think if you type into ChatGPT and you're like, make me a logo, they're not usually good. So I think there's ways to use it to your advantage. And I've been telling myself I need to get more on board with it because it's not going away.
Yeah.
I don't love it, but I could use it to my advantage while keeping my work human and not just generated.
Yeah, historically, Sarah's definitely called me out. I'll send her logos that I've made in Canva, and she will be essentially say, absolutely not. This is made in Canva, and it's obvious. But AI is even more obvious than
Yes.
really high quality Canva logos.
At this point, Canva it up, girl. I love Canva with how much I don't like it.
As we talked about, it kind of has opened some doors for being a mother. But are you thinking about using this as a stepping stool? Or if someone was, what would the stepping stool be to? Or what's the next goal that maybe folks would have in this role?
I mean, for me personally, I think that's something that I've found interest in. I mean, it's just great to have experience if you want to move into any other graphic design roles, wherever that may be. For me personally, if I were to step away from here, I would be more interested in working, which I've enjoyed my photography stuff, and just I've looked into more art auctions. I think that auctions are still a cool thing, that maybe leveling up to somewhere that does a fancier auction.
Do you feel like you have been inspired by the coin auctions to get more into art auctions, or is it unrelated?
I think it is related. My boss is hosting a art and coin expo in Colombia this summer, which is super cool. And I see the connection between it, where I think art is prettier and people think coins, because they're both investments and they're both interesting and have history and have a lot of value to them. So it just depends on the person. I think some people like coins and some people like art and some people collect baseball cards. So
Yeah,
it's whatever you want. and can afford.
Do you feel like there's a ceiling to your current role or the industry of I never will make more than a certain amount, or I can never have a particular lifestyle as a single income person in this role?
For my particular role I'm in, I think there is a ceiling just within any small company. There's less leveling up to do. I do think that there isn't exactly a ceiling of how far I could go if I wanted to go to other places, bigger places, whatever. But I do think that I went to a small college, I work at a smaller company. I think that that is important to me, and I enjoy the aspect of community that is there. So there's definitely more leveling up at higher places, but just probably not in my specific role right now.
And then if you were to try to pivot ever, is freelance a path a lot of graphic designers take, or is that an option that you've ever looked into?
I think freelance graphic designers make very good money if they're able to market themselves well. I think the issue is with that and with a lot of other things, artists and a lot of things people do freelance or on their own is that you have to kind of market yourself and you have to be putting yourself out there to get the customers, which is not really my favorite thing. And I don't like selling myself. I was actually just talking to a friend about doing a freelance project that I think I personally struggle with freelance because I feel like I'm overcharging people and then I do more work than is worth for the money that I get. And I'm like, I'm the one making these prices, but I feel like I'm overcharging people, but I'm like, I'm not getting paid enough to even want to do it. So I think that just knowing what the value of your work and being able to share that and stick to it, even if it's a family friend asks you for something, it's like, well, I'd love to give it to you for free, but my time is worth money, so I think I struggle with that for sure. But people make a lot of money doing freelance graphic design, and I think that that is a good route. Also, you have to kind of be in control of yourself and hold yourself accountable and make sure all the little things are done when be organized, which I'm not always the most organized.
So let's say someone is in college right now and they reach out to you and they say, hey, I really want to be a graphic designer. What skills should I work on? I have a year. What would you tell them?
I've been telling everyone this. I thought that everyone who told me to get an internship was stupid and unimportant. I learned more in my internships than I would say I probably did in college. Doing graphic design, I think it's such a different you learn the basic tools in college, but an internship can really show you actually I definitely recommend an ad agency. It can definitely show you how quick paced it is, how little things that I would have never gotten on my own to just be like, oh, I didn't realize how to do this. And then also networking, I think I know it's maybe not the same thing, but I really think it's who you know. And as much as that kind of can suck for some people, but just getting yourself out there and connecting on LinkedIn or even just reaching out to people. I got my internship opportunity because someone knew someone who was at a company of an ad agency, and I asked him to meet me with me and ask him for advice. And they don't always have an opportunity for you, but they will have advice or someone they know who's looking for something. So I think always just getting out. And I always hate when people say networking too, but it really, really works.
Is that what you think networking would work the most, or degree, or is it your portfolio? What kind of is the most
I
important?
forgot to say portfolio. Portfolio is big. Don't tell anyone I'm a graphic design minor. So I wasn't even majoring in graphic design, but I think that I spent a lot of time after college. I took time to really work on my portfolio and made it something that I was proud of because they can see your work. And even if it's not paid projects that you've done, you should be working on, think of real projects. Because sometimes in college, it's like, make a poster for something. And it's like, okay, that's not really a completed project to work on your own and be like, do a rebrand for a company. Find a small company in your town and needs a rebrand and work on that and put that in your portfolio. So it just looks like even if you're not getting paid for it, you're actually completing projects and people look for that. I definitely think networking is, I would say, the number one thing, but also I think having experience too is big. The internships are huge and portfolio. So I'd say those are the top three things.
What softwares, if people are working on building their portfolio, what are you designing in? Are you on an iPad? Are you using Adobe? What is software that's typically seen in this industry?
For the most part, I think a lot of people use Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop. I use more Photoshop for my job, but when I worked at an agency, I used more Illustrator. even though they're really expensive subscriptions, they charge crazy money. So I've heard of new softwares coming out that are very similar that aren't trying to just steal all your money. I've used Figma, which is another good one that's better for web design and stuff, which I enjoy using that. I will sometimes use an iPad to map out things and then send it over to Illustrator, Procreate, but I'm typically working on Adobe Suites.
Nice. You offered some great advice, but is there any final advice or things you would tell someone who really want to be in this role? Want to steal your job?
I think for graphic design, don't give up. I know a lot of people are discouraged. I've seen a lot of things online about people being like, I'm studying graphic design in college. Should I quit? Should I do something else? And I think that there always will be a need for graphic designers, whether it's a smaller role or whether it's you're doing other things along with it, where if you're learning web design, if you're learning photography, a lot of different things. I do think my advice would be to find what you like doing into whether it's web design, so you can do graphic design and web design, or like photography and graphic design, and finding more of a niche, or like whether it's just logo design or just branding. Finding that aspect and really hone in on it will help companies want to hire you for specifically what they want from you is the good thing, I think.
Awesome. Well, is there any place you want people to follow you?
No, don't plug me. I thank you for having me and hope someone who's super interested in coins and graphic design out there can benefit.
Well, thank you so much for your insight. I'm so glad you joined us today.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you'd like to be featured on a future episode, please go to snacktimemedia.net or reach out at whoareyoukallingAprofessional@snacktimemedia.net. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend or leave a review. Hope you have a great week. See you again next week. Bye, everyone.